Hello, I'm dgerard, and this is Pivot to AI, coming to you daily. Today, it's the data centers. You knew it was the data centers. For today's episode, I'm talking about one event. It's a panel discussion a few days ago, Monday 2nd March, from the Brookings Institution on why electricity prices are going up across the United States. Brookings talked to 4 regulators and experts. Here's a great video. It's 90 minutes. I don't expect you to watch it. You should watch it, but you won't. So I watched it for you. So what is making the power prices go up across the country? Here's Joseph Bowering, who is the independent market monitor for PJM Interconnect. PJM is the electric grid operator for a large chunk of the northeastern US, from New England out to Chicago, and especially Data Center Alley in North Virginia, which has more data centers than anywhere on Earth. You can guess his answer.
So kind of like if you look at all these different factors, what are you think the most important factors driving those increases?
Yeah, in the case of PJM, in the case of the capacity market, which is where the really dramatic changes are coming from, it's data centers, and it's nothing but data centers. And the people who start trying to muddy the waters with EVs and electrification, that's not true. Absolutely not true. There's no data to support it. It's not true. Our data shows that it's data centers. Last 3 capacity auctions, $23 billion in additional costs for everyone else, a result of data centers. And just to put that in perspective, that's about 40% of the cost of capacity.
So how's this happen? Data centers more or less dropped out of the sky. Here's Ryan Weiser from Lawrence Berkeley National Lab. Electricity is his particular area.
None of us were talking about AI data centers 3 years ago. And so I think that, to this point of how unique is this situation, one big aspect of the uniqueness is that we have a form of demand that none of us in the industry, hardly any of us in the industry, envisioned until very, very recently.
The biggest issue is North Virginia. Everyone wants a data center in North Virginia. It's one of the best connected places in the world, and it just happens to hammer a large consumer market with the costs and make them angry. Here's Abe Silverman from Johns Hopkins University.
So we have the data centers coming in asking in the PJM region. So that's the mid-Atlantic region. We're in PJM right now, goes basically up to New York, down to the Carolinas, west to Chicago. And that region is seeing somewhere around 13 gigawatts of new load, mostly from data centers, wanting to come onto the grid a year. And let's talk a little bit about what that actually means, because I think it's helpful to unpack this a little bit. The city of Baltimore uses about 6.5 gigawatts of electricity every year. So we are talking about adding 2 Baltimores to the grid every year between now and the early 2030s, if you believe the projections. Put another way, that's approximately 10 new large nuclear power plants a year, which we are nowhere there. And so what we basically are saying is there is tens of billions of dollars of new energy infrastructure that is required to serve this class of customers, these new data centers. And the question becomes, who pays for it?
To be fair, it's not data centers causing it in every state. Ryan Weiser says California's nearly the opposite, and they want more data centers.
California, we've had declining load for a long time. Our prices have increased the most. It's not data centers. Data centers have played no role in increasing the prices in California. Indeed, the CEOs of the major electric utilities in the state have noted that they would welcome data centers because they would be able to spread some of the fixed costs of their electricity system over more megawatt hours, which mathematically reduces electricity prices. In California, the story is largely one of wildfire mitigation and liability insurance and increased distribution and transmission expenditures. The PJM story is a totally different story, and the data centers are a big part, not the only part, but a big part of that story. So I think it's ultimately just that we've got states differ because states differ.
I should note, by the way, that not all of California yearns for the data centers. One example, there's a Bloomberg story on 2 empty data center buildings in Santa Clara in Silicon Valley that anticipate being in the queue for years to get a power hookup. So it's very dependent on local supply. In the PJM interconnect area in the northeast, the data centers are the problem. Local citizens hate the data centers, and not just because of seeing their power bill double, but there's strong political will to keep the data centers around. The federal government believes it's in an AI arms race with China. I'm not convinced, but they are convinced. The states like getting tax money, even if it's often just promises rather than money. So let's assume nobody's going to just kick the data centers out. The biggest problem the grids have in this situation is when this massive load just drops out of the sky onto the grid. How do you plan for that? Any number you write down in 2026 is going to be wrong, whether it's wrong high or wrong low. Abe Silverman's answer is get the sudden new data center customers to pay for it.
But it sort of comes back to this question of we just don't know how much electricity data centers are going to use. Maybe quantum computing is going to come around tomorrow and reduce electricity usage by 50%. Maybe there'll be more efficient chips. Maybe there'll be consolidation, or maybe it's all a bubble and they'll all go bust. I honestly don't know. But we need to put, sort of our job as sort of regulatory professionals is to put in place a scheme that is robust and protects consumers under any of those various scenarios. And so when you talked about scarcity, we can't have scarcity in AI. I don't disagree with that. But it's not about scarcity, it's about who pays. Google, Microsoft, Meta, take your pick. They are all perfectly capable of financing and building new power plants. They are the largest entities on the planet. They can do it. It's just an unwillingness to pay at this point.
So you can guess that too. Great panel, very informative, and if you're interested in the details, you'll enjoy it and you should give it a watch. To summarize, the sudden marginal demand sends costs up for everyone by supply and demand, no matter how you slice it. The grids can't predict if data centers are going to keep going for years or just drop offline, if AI is a bubble. So current recommendations, make the data centers build their own power plants and hook those to the grid. At least then, we'll have some infrastructure left over when the bubble pops. Thanks for tuning in to Pivot to AI. Remember to tell the infrastructure nerd in your life about this episode. Hit like and subscribe on YouTube. Leave a nice review in your podcast app. And if Pivot to AI brightens your life, do please drop $5 into the Patreon linked in the show notes. Thank you all. I'll see you tomorrow, and bye for now.